Thank you, everyone, for joining us with another episode of Lawyer Interviews. We have a repeat guest with us today. We have Erica Rose. Thank you so much, Erica. It's great to see you again.
Good to see you again too, and thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. Interesting developments the last couple of months with reality TV shows and certain lawsuits coming out. And for those who don't know Erica, she's a perfect person to discuss these topics because not only is she a practicing attorney with her own law firm, but also a former TV reality star. Is that how you would categorize yourself?
Yeah, I guess so.
So, and if I'm correct, multiple reality TV shows.
Yeah, multiple shows with multiple networks, which I think gives me a good perspective because it's not a one size fits all when it comes to participating in reality TV, and each network or network family, I should say, does treat
Hmm.
contestants a little bit differently. And
Definitely.
in that, there is favoritism always.
A new reality show called Squid Games Challenge. It came on Netflix about a week ago. It's a reality show where contestants get to live out the actual challenges that were made popular on the actual show called Squid Games. Which have you seen Squid Games?
So I didn't see the original Squid Games. I researched about it, and then on Netflix I like put it on for a little bit just because of the challenge, so that I'm familiar with
Okay. Yeah,
it.
I saw the original show. It's
Okay.
it's
That was the
dark,
original
it's
one.
cool.
It
It's
wasn't reality, the original,
no,
right?
no, it was a dark commentary on capitalism and made this like fake reality show based in Korea where people were in dire need for money and would be in doing really dangerous deadly challenges that only the lone survivor would get enough money and be free and everyone else
It's like the Hunger
died.
Games, right?
Yeah, pretty kind of like a Hunger Games, and which is interesting because everyone watched this show. It's the most popular show ever on Netflix. Millions and millions of, other than you, I guess, though the sole exception.
I
But
mean, I
everyone
heard
watched.
about it, but sometimes on that dark stuff, I just try to stay positive
It's
and watch
definitely
it.
not for everyone. But if you were signing up to be a part of Squid Games, the challenge, you would probably have an idea that what you would be involved with is slightly dangerous. So what we have, I'll set the table now, and then we'll get your view on this. What we know is there's a lawsuit happening. Well, it's not a lawsuit, and that's the first part that's different. It's taking place in the UK. They have a different legal system there. I think what one way, we're not UK lawyers, but it's almost like a precursor uh legal letter was sent out, putting out the accusations and putting out on behalf of a couple contestants, saying that they were put in a dangerous situation that they weren't expecting. Some of the injuries that happened were individuals fainted. Another said they were exposed to hypothermia. Um, and now they're potentially seeking damages. They haven't filed anything yet, but this is some procedural aspect that comes in first. Uh, but uh, you know, I assume when you go on these shows, you sign something. I assume that there's a what we call an assumption of the risk involved. I'd like to hear just your initial reaction to this.
Well, initially my reaction is these contracts that we sign as contestants on reality shows, they're really ironclad. I mean, there's pretty much not any loopholes. And I'm speaking not from my experience of going on The Bachelor, because really that we weren't really at a risk of our lives, but there was a spin-off show that not everyone knows about. It was pretty popular, called Bachelor Pad, and now it's been replaced by Bachelor in Paradise. But Bachelor Pad had 3 seasons. I competed on seasons 2 and 3, 2011, 2012. And it was kind of, it was just, was nothing like Bachelor in Paradise, because we had to actually, it was more like a real world road rules challenge where we had to do physical challenges.
Okay.
And because of that aspect. And so there was money at the end, the whole goal was to hopefully find love and money. I don't know. The reason they replaced it with Bachelor in Paradise was they realized it kind of went against like the Bachelor's whole theme of just finding love. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So but we did have to sign, it was a more serious contract for that than it was for Bachelor, I will
Hmm.
say, because there were some challenges where an injury could have happened.
What
Like,
was an example of a challenge?
well, we had one, like we always had to be with partners, a male and like it would be a
Hmm.
female, the male partner, we'd pick our partner, and the partner wasn't always someone you were romantically involved with.
Yep.
Sometimes it was just like, oh, I think this one will be a good competitor. But there was one, I think we were like hanging it upside down by like bungee cords and had to hang on as long as we could. And it was funny because I partnered with a personal trainer thinking like he's gonna be the best, but we didn't hang on for that long.
Hmm.
And I mean, some of them were funnier ones, like
Yep.
synchronized swimming, but we had like an Olympic synchronized swimming coach, or rhythmic gymnastics. There was one that I think they just improvised on because like the original challenge got canceled. We were carrying like all these like cups and plates and things, and
Hmm.
the glass was like breaking everywhere. There was others. I mean, it's hard to remember, but there was obstacle courses. Designed to look like an ice cream sundae, but it wasn't actual food. I mean, so there was chances for people to get injured. And then there
Did
was like,
anyone get hurt?
so no one got hurt on Bachelor Pad.
Got
But
it.
now watching Bachelor in Paradise, I was always saying like, oh, they have it so easy. They're just playing on a beach, drinking margaritas all day and like playing in the sand. But actually, I don't know if it was last season or I think it was like a couple seasons ago. They called him elderly. It was a guy in his 30s, but he fainted, I think, because
Hmm.
he, and so,
So,
and he was like, there was more hospitalizations, it feels like, in
mhm.
Bachelor in Paradise than there was in Bachelor Pad, which is ironic.
Right. So I
And
guess,
then the show Wipeout. Okay. So I don't know if
yeah.
you ever heard that show Wipeout.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they did a Bachelor All Stars edition. And that was a show where literally I eliminated myself. Like I went through, started the course, and there was things that was supposed to like punch you in the face. Cause I'd seen one of my friends like limping off the course before
Oh my
me,
God.
literally going straight to the ER, like dislocated her neck. I mean,
Hmm.
if you ever watched Wipeout, none of this is surprising. But and it was they were like, if you don't finish the course, you won't get your like $250. I'm like, I'm good, girlfriend. Like that
Yeah.
is worth a trip to the ER. So I think that, yeah, my dad, I remember, was scared for me to do Wipeout because he's
Hmm.
like, this is very serious. Like you can get very injured. And so, yeah, I was like, it'll be a fun day. I'll hang out with the friends, and do
Right. Well,
it.
I guess going a good comparison maybe to Squid Games would be this Wipeout show where in the title that it's
No,
going to be dangerous, and probably the network knows and has you sign something. So
yeah.
maybe could you tell us the process of what you had to read and agree to, and what that looked like?
So what we had to sign and agree to was that we wouldn't hold the network or production company, because they're two separate things, liable for any injuries, and that we wouldn't hold other contestants, other actors, or
Okay.
whatever they refer to them as, other contestants liable for injuries either. I believe that's what we signed.
Hmm.
And it's hard to recall everything without it being right in front of me. But I mean, there were certain things they wouldn't allow. Like, for example, if you can't just like go and punch each other and get into a physical altercation. But if you're participating in a challenge and an injury results as part of that challenge, like you can't sue, And
Right.
then always on Bachelor Pad, there was always an attorney on set. His name was
Hmm.
Richard. I remember thinking, I was like still in law school at that point, but feeling like he had a pretty cool job, just sort of like hanging out, watching things, making sure they were, compliant essentially.
Yep.
Um, because it was a game show, I think with game shows, when there's a money prize at the end, like Bachelor Pad was, it's different than Bachelor and like Squid Games is. Even House of Villains or Real Road Rules challenges games. I think those still are
Hmm.
still going on. Those are like the longest standing shows in history, maybe.
Right.
I don't watch them, but
Yeah.
anyway, I think that they have to be a lot more careful, because that's what the producers explained to me. Like, well, I was like, well, why is Richard on set now? He wasn't always on set on Bachelor. And they're like, when it's a game show and there's money, they have to make sure that they're complying by the rules. And also, yeah, because of legalities. So they're pretty much covered. As far as
Mm-hmm.
I know, at least in the Bachelor franchise, as far as I know, which doesn't mean that there hasn't been like private matters that settled that I just didn't know about. There hasn't really been any lawsuits because it covers even into the event of death, like your family can't sue. And this is all speaking from my past experience. So, of course, contracts could have been modified. I don't have a copy of the current one or anything like that.
Right. And even if
Um,
it you sign a contract, I would imagine, you can't agree to a super dangerous, you could waive certain things. I'm
right
not a
to sue essentially.
Yeah, well, so I'll just lay out what I think what happened. So you haven't seen Squid Games. I'm going to assume most people did. There's like
Yeah.
a really famous challenge from the show where there's this big robot thing, and it's like playing that game red light, green light, 1, 2, 3, and it's kind of creepy. And what happens is like if the robot child catches you moving when you're not supposed to, then there's like machine guns coming out of the walls, like killing people for moving, and you have to like perfectly, someone saw that and was like, well, we should do this for real. But what happened in the lawsuit, I guess, is the room that they were in while they were
Mhm.
playing that challenge, and maybe they put paintball or whatever else, was apparently freezing cold to the point that people were getting like hypothermia and their arms turned purple, and they were like, this is a reality show. Why am I, you know,
Yeah.
and I wonder too, because that's not an injury that you would expect kind of
No.
connected. Like, why would the room be very cold? That's not necessary for that aspect. So, I wondered, I guess knowing that if you were the contestants and you were
Mhm.
representing them, and I know we don't necessarily do this type of work, what kind of things would you advise maybe or talk about with those lawyers representing them?
Well, first of all, you would have to see the contract, and what they say,
Mm-hmm.
because if it covers like any and all injuries that result from the challenges, then you're kind of stuck because they could say, well, we made it this temperature on purpose to make the challenge more difficult. They could
Yep.
come back with that. So it's really hard to answer actually without seeing the contract because it's
Mm-hmm.
like in my experiences, the contracts are ironclad.
Yeah. So it
I
sounds pretty difficult.
like really rare. I mean, I have not heard of people getting around these like loopholes. Like I've spoken out with former just reality stars that were upset with their like circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
never represented them, but it's pretty much kind of like you're signing your rights away,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, think about it, short of someone shooting you, but like it's
Yeah, exactly.
really scary.
What would you do as the show? Do you think it's worth it that you pay people off? Do you just hope it goes away? What do you think their angle is?
My experience, they hide behind their contracts and like their corporate attorneys and the clauses in their contracts. And I think that sometimes they'll provide medical treatment. Sometimes they would provide like mental health treatment if that was necessary.
Hmm.
So they will do things like that. But I haven't experienced them admitting liability, like admitting that what they did was wrong. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to call out like individual people throughout like the Bachelor Nation world, but I have friends that have been in these kinds of situations. But kind of reached out for help rather than taking like a legal recourse. And I
Got it.
feel like that usually works best.
Mm-hmm. Should
As
there
unfortunately, like you said, when they were going on the show Squid Games, if they watched the real, show Squid Games, they would have an inkling that the reality show could be a little bit dangerous. And I'm sure they probably protected that into their contracts. And you can ask yourself, why are people doing this? It's not only for the money that they can win as a contestant. No, it's not only for that reason. It's because of the exposure that they can get
Yeah,
and the money that they can make these days through social media, through influencing, through all that stuff that wasn't really even there as much,
got
10
it.
years ago. So they're not all thinking they're going to win the 4 million, $5 million, whatever it is. It's also other
Other
reasons.
other ways to do it. So last question on this, should there be a Bachelor Squid Games crossover?
I think the Bachelor Squid Games crossover would just be Bachelor Pad again, and I don't think I'm gonna bring that. that show back. Maybe,
Yeah. I mean, you
maybe.
could find love in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading something about Squid Games last night, just that they didn't like provide them with a lot of like toiletries or anything like that. So one of the contestants was saying that people were getting chapped lips, and as a solution, they were trying lotion, they were trying like conditioner, and some people figured out to try the condoms that they provided. This is something I read, to like lubricate themselves. I don't know, their lips,
Oh.
whatever. This would not be a show that I would do. Where you don't get like your own toiletries, like anything like that.
Yeah,
It's really extreme. I feel bad for the people that are injured. I'm not sure if we'll see. Like it will be interesting to see what happens.
it
And
would be. Yeah. So I guess we'll change topics just to keep it going. There's we were talking about this. There's a Rolling Stone article that came out releasing that an anonymous letter sent
yeah,
by lawyers on behalf of 6 clients, unnamed, was sent to NBC, accusing them of creating situations in over across a variety of different reality shows that would intentionally cause harm and distress to reality TV stars. And I think some examples were that they were manufacturing instability, causing people to be sleep deprived, making sure they were drunk, putting them in dangerous situations, maybe sexual problems happen, some violent actions would happen, and they'd cover it up. Again, this was, to be clear, it's not a lawsuit. It was some precursor to a legal action, threatening that we eventually will be potentially causing a lawsuit and saying you should put a hold on or look for your evidence and prepare for litigation. I'm not a litigator. I don't know how that works, but uh, that seems to be where it starts and where we're at. This was just for NBC. What are your some thoughts on that?
so I like looked into that a little bit. I saw that one of the people that felt exploited was actually like a male bartender, I think, on one of the shows or something like that, and he
Oh,
felt he was sexualized. But besides for that, of course, producers manufacture drama. Definitely. You know what I'm saying?
okay.
That's people. Even on our time on The Bachelor, there would be long nights and we were sleep deprived, especially on bachelor pad and things like that. And of course, alcohol was always provided. Sometimes food was like not around or it would come later. But for the most part, if you requested something, you would get it. But because it's not like SAG, it's not, I think there should be a more regulated union for reality stars. And I think that's one of the bigger problems because there aren't like there's unions that regulate the crew members, for example, like the camera crew, and
Yep.
audio. That they have to have breaks. I think it's either every 10 or 12 hours. I think it's every 10 hours. But there wasn't something like that regulating the contestants or the cast that were on the shows. And so it's absolutely believable that sleep deprivation occurs,
Right.
alcohol provided, but then again, on the flip side, it's not like a sorority or fraternity hazing. No one's literally shoving the alcohol down your throat. There are plenty of sober people now on reality TV.
Okay.
It's Lala on Vanderpump Rules. She's a good example of that. So I think that some of it is up to you. It is, meaning like if there's shots all around and everyone's saying shots, shots, whatever, drink some champagne, you don't have to. No one's going to force you to do that.
Okay.
But at the same time, the sleeping part, that is not entirely up to you, in my
Hmm.
experience, because sometimes nights would run really late and then we would sleep like 4 or 5 hours and the cameras would come in the mornings, waking you up. And I had some friends that would like try to go back to sleep or they'd come out for like the morning announcement, whatever.
Yep.
And then back to sleep. They're like, that's the trick. But not everyone can just like fall back asleep. So the sleep deprivation was definitely a real thing. Manufacturing drama, that is what reality TV producers do. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Okay. So,
Not a
uh,
docuseries. And I think that's just a problematic perception that viewers have a lot of times. For
mhm.
example, I went on this experience called Below Deck Selling Yacht, and a lot of the viewers believe that they're just like watching this docu-series. They don't realize that the people that work on the yacht are at BravoCon as well, like all the other reality stars. And they're not glimpsing into like a hardworking industry. Like they manufacture drama too. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Was
So,
was there a difference between manufacturing drama and manufacturing danger, unsafe situations?
uh-huh. And I think that without knowing the nature of what their unsafe situations are specifically, I think that with a ton of alcohol involved, it can always be an unsafe situation. And I don't think that the producers are always looking out for the cast's best interest. They're not. They're there to make good TV. You know what I mean?
Do you think this is going to cause a shift in how reality TV is?
I
Uh,
think it could be good if it could,
yeah,
but if I it will take some really big names to do that. I thought that Bethany Frankel was one of the people involved. She's been speaking out about it. I think that even though she's not an attorney, she seems like she could be
she
one.
seems like one. Yeah. Do
Yeah,
you think? Yeah, I wonder too. It's I feel like it's hard to be sympathetic. Maybe if this was in a court case, how a
mhm.
jury would view a reality star. I think public. It's not the
There's
most
not a lot of sympathy.
right. Why do you think that is?
I think that there's a conception that, first of all, you make a lot of money doing reality TV, which sometimes is true,
Hmm.
and sometimes it's not. But, and also that people willingly sign up to put themselves into these situations,
Yeah.
and that, they should just deal with whatever comes along with it.
Do you
And
have any friends or people you know from your time on The Bachelor or any of the other reality shows who have had some negative consequences or regrets later on? And you don't have to name names, but
no,
thought
I do.
about legal action.
Definitely. I do have friends from all the different, not every show, but from some of the different shows that I've done. And even like when I went on Below Deck Selling Yacht, I wasn't a main cast. I was there just as a guest, but I became friends with like someone that was a chef just on season 2. She shared about her experiences with me. The lack of sleep, just certain things was difficult.
Hmm.
But I didn't really like pry further, wondering. I don't know about legal action and all that.
Yeah.
But same with Bachelor, I've had people in the past reach out to me saying like, what can I do? And bringing up their contracts. They were upset with
Yeah.
editing certain things. And like I said, the contracts are pretty much ironclad.
Right. It
And
comes back to what you agree to. And I'm sure there's a bunch of lawyers watching this thinking, oh, I can sue for lack of sleep because that would be a big game changer for our profession for sure.
yeah, exactly. But I do think there should be empathy for reality stars, just like there is for all humans, because
Hmm.
you don't always know what you're getting into. You can't
Yeah.
always imagine every scenario.
So
Um,
uh-huh.
you know,
In a short answer, would if I were to say, would you say is reality TV dangerous?
I think definitely reality TV can be dangerous for a lot of reasons, not just physically, but psychologically, emotionally, especially these days more than ever with social media. You can receive death threats, all kinds of really scary
Good
things
point. Yeah.
weren't around 10 or 15 years ago. So
And what role do you think that the networks should be taking to
to police,
improve that or make it a safer environment for reality stars?
that's a tough one because it feels like the networks, I mean, certain networks take care of their stars in a certain way, like Bravo with BravoCon and all that stuff. And it just almost feels like the second you like turn against them or say something, then it's like you're out. But to make it a safer space, it'd be hard because they don't control social media. You know what I mean? I know, for example, on Bachelor, they did speak out about the hate that people receive and how
Hmm.
they don't condone that or anything. But still, like you can't control people on the internet. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So that has to come probably from like big tech companies and everything.
Hmm.
But there's definitely a really dark side of reality TV. I think that if you're not the production company, if you're not That's why the Kardashians are so genius, is that they executive produce their own shows. Like
Hmm.
they're executive producing their show on Hulu. So even though they have editors and they still let some drama in, like they have a lot of
They
control
control everything. That's a
at
really
the
interesting point.
environment. They
Hmm.
film a lot of times at their own homes, you know what I mean? And
Right.
I like, and they're controlling a lot of it, so they're not going to put themselves in danger, which is great. And
Hmm.
if everyone was at their level, that would be the case. But people just trying to break into the industry for whatever reason, you know, you don't have that type of power and
Right.
leverage. But I don't think that if I think it would take a lawsuit happening and people prevailing to change things,
Hmm.
and
Well,
that would be groundbreaking,
would be
you know.
very interesting. All right, great. Thank you so much, Erica, for joining. Really interesting stuff, everyone. Please make sure to subscribe. We'll hopefully get Erica back and maybe for happier news in the reality show world.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.